It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
That's right, everybody. Less opposetti, more di spaghetti. What's going on, everybody? It is Sunday night. My God, January's already over. January 26, 2025. 5 days from now, random thought. Vince McMahon, that lawsuit with Janelle Grant is going to go to the next level. Probably won't hear anything until the following Monday, but expect some news to go down this week. How's everybody doing this weekend? I know for a lot of you out there, football is on everybody's minds, and I had a few people ask me tonight, what do I think for the Super Bowl? As of right now, I think it's going to be the Chiefs versus the Eagles. And I don't know, man, this might be Philadelphia's year. I mean, honestly, I could care less about either team, but there's just something about the Eagles right now. You know, they are dominating. The Chiefs got by pretty close in the last game that they had. And I think 2 games ago, they won a little bit more convincingly, but, you know, there was a little bit of garbage time as well. But I am monitoring. I'm monitoring. I think the Eagles are that vibe in the air. It seems like it's going to be the Eagles, but hey, it's not the Giants. I'm from New York. It hasn't been the Giants in a very long time. So, you know, that's really all I care about. But, you know, I'll get right into your questions. I want to welcome everybody to this Sunday's edition of The Sit Down. I am Don Tony, your host, so to speak. And what do we do on Sunday nights? We pretty much just ease back, relax, just talk about whatever. You know, nothing that really rattles too many brain cells. We just have some casual conversation. I tell you, tomorrow night, Kev and I are gearing up for the Don Tony Kevin Castle Show, Royal Rumble predictions tomorrow. Little Raw recap as well. We have a few wrestling discussions to get into. We're also going to talk a little bit about Saturday night's main event. You know, I did see Saturday night's main event, and cool for WWE upgrading the legends a little bit. You know, I just so you all know, I start working on the following week's history show a week in advance because it's a lot to put together. And just going through the past week, and I decided it's not going to make the cut. But what a lot of you may not remember is that when AEW first came around for the first year, they would have legends appear on the shows. I'm not saying that they haven't had legends since 2020, but they used to have them quite a bit more, and they used to advertise the legends pretty hard. And it was this week in, I think, 2020, that they were advertising all over the net that they were going to celebrate Missy Hyatt and Austin Idol. Now, I don't remember what state they were in, but I'm assuming that they lived in that state also. But they were advertising all week Missy Hyatt and Austin Idol. And, you know, in researching this week in history, I saw the clip again. And then I was reminded they were out on the rampway for a total of 41 seconds. And it aired on AEW Dark. I mean, listen, when you're a legend, unless you think you're Hogan, you know, you take whatever you can get right now. But I kind of felt bad, especially for Missy Hyatt, because you could see that AEW just really didn't care all that much. But, you know, seeing WWE upgrade the legends a little bit last night was pretty cool. I'll say one thing before we get into questions. I thought Jacob Fatu was fucking awesome. But, you know, this word going around, I know it sounds good, And I know it sounds powerful, but the repeated phrase I kept reading today was, a star was born. A star was born. Saturday night's main event is not a show for the casuals. All right, this is basically if you're a wrestling fan and you're home Saturday night and Collision doesn't do it for you, you got nothing to do, you want to watch a little bit of wrestling, WWE's fulfilling their obligations with NBC, this is what you get. Everyday wrestling fans already know that Jacob Fatu is a superstar in the making. If he could keep his ass out of trouble and he could keep himself in a little bit good, decent shape, the guy's got it. You go back to MLW, the guy's got it. You watch him overseas, he's got it. Just gotta, give it some time. But no, a megastar, a superstar, a star was born last night. No. Diesel in the Royal Rumble in 1994 or 95, whatever year that was a star in the making. Jacob Fatu reminded us yesterday how good he is. And everything from the intro to how he dominated Braun Strowman, and he lost. And still, I listen, he was my favorite part of Saturday night's main event. But the idea that a star was born, nah. Look at the audience that's tuning in. Do that shit at the Royal Rumble. I got news for you. Not revealing my predictions because they have changed quite a bit in the last week or two. But I think Jacob Fatu, if he's in the Royal Rumble, will have a memorable appearance. I'm looking forward to it. I think we're going to have a couple of face-to-faces. Will Brock Lesnar show up? There's a few unknowns that are going down, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm really looking forward to it. Now, just a reminder for all of you out there, next Sunday, Kev and I will be here together Sunday night on YouTube starting at 8 o'clock for a special edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. We will be celebrating 1 year back after many years not doing shows together, 1 year back doing shows full time. And we are also going to recap and review the Royal Rumble. I know everybody and their grandmother are going to be doing Royal Rumble recaps Saturday night next week. And honestly, I don't feel like competing with every other show out there that wants to do a Rumble recap. Kevin and I will hit 3 birds with 1 stone Sunday night. We'll recap and review the Rumble. We'll let it digest for 24 hours too. We'll also celebrate a year back full time, and we get into your questions and whatever you want to talk about. So I hope you join me and you join Kev next Sunday night, 8 o'clock, right here. So I want to thank you all for joining me this evening. Let's talk a little bit more wrestling. Now, as I always say, post your questions. If I get into yours, wait a little bit before asking another one. And as always, super chats are not required. They help pay the bills, obviously. We don't have sponsors. We were actually, Kevin and I were approached by 2. We don't want to say who they are, but we were like, nah, man, these are sponsors that everybody and their mother plug. And I know 99% of you out there could care less for these products. If we have sponsors, we want to plug things that we actually think you could use or you would like. And then maybe, we can actually convince some of our listeners and viewers to pick up something, but not going to just plug shit just to plug shit. So, but, again, super chats are never required, but obviously they cut the line, which is only fair. So I want to get into one that just came in about Jacob Fatu, and this is from Jimmy Fingers 19. What's up, Jimmy? Thank you for the 20 spot, Jimmy. He says he felt like Jacob Fatu became an organic fan favorite last night. It's going to be fun seeing Triple H trying to keep the fans from booing him. The tide turned on Braun after doing the corny choo-choo. train gimmick that the fans weren't having it. Listen, it's funny. When I saw the choo-choo train, I actually thought of Hogan yesterday. And listen, Bischoff will convince you that the Hogan hate was just a one-off in California. Booker T will tell you that Hogan is just, old-fashioned and out of touch with society today. I got news for you. I think Booker T is not as off as you think he is. In hindsight, I think, I'm not saying Attitude Era is coming back. Attitude Era is not coming back. Advertisers will not allow it. Today's society would not accept it. And there's too many snowflakes on social media that will do everything they can to rip it apart. So Attitude Era is not coming back. TV 14 is not coming back. We've been saying this for years and years and years. Just like we always said, John Cena will never turn heel again. WWE's never bringing back Attitude. You will have moments where you will be reminded of yesteryear. That's why movies are still R-rated these days. That's why sometimes they'll have some scenes that are not appropriate for children, but it can be few and far between. But the reason why I thought of Hogan yesterday was because Booker may not be as off as you think. I think the days of the clear-cut, milquetoast, old-school superhero babyface is kind of out of touch. You see social media, and you listen, you see social media accounts. You see, even I'm watching some news journalists that now have their own podcast. They're not on network television anymore. And they'll throw a bunch of expletives along the way. You look at even the political trail. Now, we're not getting into politics tonight. No worries, guys. I made that vow to you, unless somebody really pushes it. Expletives are used. Now, expletives do not mean attitude, but when you feel that things are a little bit looser, you kind of, it just has a different vibe to it. Watching Netflix right now, to me, it's like watching the USA Network. It is. The commercials I've gotten used to. The ring I have no problem with. The only two things that have really stuck out to me is the fact we don't have any Travis Scott intro music yet. Nothing against him personally, but I just don't like the theme for Raw. Just my opinion. And the second thing is the fans chanting is not censored anymore. We have yet to hear Pat McAfee use one expletive, if I can recall. We've had a couple of wrestlers use something here and there, but, still F-bombs will be censored. In some countries, things will be censored. That doesn't mean that wrestling's going to suck because of it. So Hogan just being a little bit too much of this superhero, you're not a superhero anymore. He hasn't been a superhero for decades. He is nostalgia. But a lot of fans of today are like, yeah, we've seen the Monday Night War bullshit. We've been hit with that to death. How many times could you see DX invade WCW? I love it. I love ECW. I'll always pay tribute. But it's not on my mind every day anymore. So Hogan is still thinking that he could struggle to rip off the shirt and this and that. And he looks like an old man playing a character. So Braun Strowman doing the goofy choo-choo train, yeah, little kids will be into it. But for the older wrestling fans out there, Jacob Fatu is badass. Beat the fuck out of that guy. That's the mindset that I got yesterday. And Jacob Fatu is badass. But understand, this is a very important point. He is as badass as WWE will allow him to be badass. There are other wrestlers that are badass too. The problem is WWE has a lot of restraints on some guys for various reasons, creative more than anything. But Jacob Fatu is as badass as WWE allows him to be. I loved the promo yesterday in the back, especially that he just said, Fatu, and then just walked. We didn't hear not much about Solo. I'm not saying he's not talking about Solo anymore, but last night it felt like, okay, this guy is legit badass. Maybe WWE is taking him to the next level. And you want to know something? I appreciate everybody agreeing with me on this. I'll use AEW for comparison. This is not a shit on AEW campaign. It's not. I really want them to get better. I truly do. There's a lot of people in the company that I like, but here's the difference. When you see Lance Archer, and I'm a big fan of his, anybody that follows me for a long time knows this. When you see Lance Archer, and he's suddenly racking up wins on Dynamite, wins on Collision, you say to yourself, shit, they're setting him up to have a big match against somebody and he's going to lose. And sure enough, it happened with Ospreay. Then you got Hobbs. And then Hobbs, you feel like, they're finally pushing him. The Book of Hobbs. No more the Book of Jobs. It's the Book of Hobbs. He's walking the streets of L.A. He's, fought this and fought that. Inspirational stories, stuff about his family and all this other stuff. And he starts getting all these wins and he's starting to get high profile. And people are like, yeah, they're finally giving him that push. And then you're like, shit. They're setting him up for a big match on Dynamite. And then he loses to Moxley. And it's everything downhill here. You could win the TBS title. You could win the ABC title. You could win the US title. You could win any title you want. It's perception. When you see Jacob Fatu last night, you get this feeling like WWE's going to start pushing this motherfucker. It feels organic, like Jimmy said. You feel they're going to truly want to push this motherfucker. With Hobbs and Lance Archer, just for two examples, and others, it's just perception to justify a main event for a pay-per-view or a Dynamite or a Collision. And then once it happens, it goes down. Look at Deonna Purrazzo. We've talked about this. Listen, I absolutely agree. Even though a lot of people don't like him, Cornette is the be-all, end-all as far as nailing shit spot on. But people that are truly honest know we were saying this even before Jim Cornette. And there's a cycle. We even talked about it 2 or 3 weeks ago when we talked about Taya Valkyrie and Deonna Purrazzo. I said, how many times can you align with yourself, wear beautiful looking outfits, all maked up, and then act like tough bitches on TV and say, we're not taking this shit no more. And then they beat the fuck out of nobodies. And then people take notice and they start complaining on social media. Deonna Purrazzo was the focus of TNA, Impact Wrestling. Deonna Purrazzo was the person. Here, they're just totally misusing her. And then all of a sudden, AEW gets wind of it. Oh, fuck. The fans are starting to complain. Suddenly, boom, fatal four-way match. Winner takes on Mercedes Moné for the championship. They're finally pushing her. Now, the match, is what it is. But you see the cycle. Somebody you start figuring out they're not really there's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And then when people start really getting vocal about it, suddenly the person, Deonna Purrazzo is Lance Archer. Deonna Purrazzo is Hobbs. Taya Valkyrie will be in that position soon enough. And then you'll see once people start really screaming about Camille, you rub the genie. And then the golden genie, Camille will be back on TV confronting, and we'll see how far that goes. But it's about perception. You feel it inside. You watch Saturday night's main event yesterday, even if you don't like Jacob Fatu, but you say to yourself, yeah, WWE is setting this guy up for bigger things. When you see badass guys, because Lance Archer is badass, Hobbs is badass, and I only use them for examples. There's others we could use, but we don't have that much time tonight. But when you see them on TV, you're like, are they truly pushing them, or are they just trying to set this up for a match, and then we're right back to where we were before? You remember all these people online? History, the managers traded wrestlers. We haven't seen that since the Heenan era. Anybody talking about it now? You get these perceptions that finally, things are changing, and it doesn't. That's why I agree with Jimmy, not because he super chatted, but because a star was not born yesterday. But you could feel it with the fans that, okay, all right, WWE gives this guy a little bit more, he's going to kick it. He's going to kick ass with it. So we will see what happens. We will see what happens. Listen, as far as Deanna's physique, there's nothing wrong with her. She's a thicker woman. She's always been that way. There is absolutely no, listen, if you're going to criticize Deanna, then you got to criticize Chris Statlander. You got to criticize others, and I see the same names bringing up over, and I'm not criticizing Chris Statlander. All I'm saying is that there's this perception about some women on TV. Ember Moon, Athena. For ages, people were saying about Ember Moon. Nothing wrong with her whatsoever. Her physique was fine. Just not everybody's going to look like Tiffany Stratton or Bianca Belair. They are absolutely in shape. There is absolutely nothing wrong with Deonna Purrazzo. I say Purrazzo. Purrazza! Deonna, get by. All right. Okay, let's get into a couple of more questions here. Shout out to Police Squad. Loved this week's history show, and the Brit Baker clip was hilarious. Do I think WWE would sign her if she's released from AEW? If they could sign her on the cheap, yeah, I think they would sign her. Me personally, I would not sign her. What is Brit Baker's gimmick? What is her gimmick? She's a dentist. Yeah, that's what she does outside the ring. She does the mandible claw. Okay, others do that as well. She's got no character development in 5 years. I played that on the history show this past Thursday. For those that didn't hear the episode, it was the anniversary of the Jericho Cruise when she turned heel. And she started shitting on Tony Schiavone, who's her close friend. And she's like, oh, everybody knows you worked at a shitty barista before you went to AEW. And it just came off cringe at the time. But you look over the last 5 years, Britt Baker at one point, a lot of you may not know this. When she first showed up in AEW, I called her two different names. And at the time, I thought they were appropriate. I called her Brit Bella, because to me, she looked like the third Bella. When you remember Demolition, Axe, Smash, and Crush, Brit was like Crush in Demolition. Okay, Axe and Smash were not around, you got Crush. Or I would call her Dr. Shit Baker instead of Brit Baker, because I thought she was shit on TV. But she improved. There was about a 2-year stretch that she definitely improved. But over the last year and a half, to me, it seems like she has gone the other way. I personally don't think she's needed in WWE. It's nothing personal against her. I haven't heard anything bad behind the scenes other than the claims about the Thunder Rosa incident and some backstage heat with MJF and some other stuff. And I don't know how much of that's exaggerated. Listen, you hear backstage that Tony Khan was in fear of his life. And then you hear that Britt Baker stirred up all this stuff. Things get grossly exaggerated sometimes. So I don't know how much of it is completely accurate. But honestly, I wouldn't even want to see her in NXT. I personally think maybe TNA. Look, Dana Brooke has gotten better doing the Ash by Elegance gimmick. Maybe she can change it around, but, yeah, she does DMD. Reminds me when Brett went this, it's like DMD. Okay, you got the fans to chant it, but, in the ring where it all means everything, it feels like she is definitely taking steps back. So I would say no. No, I really don't think WWE should take her unless you're going to do a whole gut job and rebuild. Start from the bottom up. Give her an entirely different gimmick. It's happened. People have gone to WWE, male and female, and have totally reinvented themselves. So We'll see. We shall see. Bob the Builder, what's up, Bob? My thoughts on the Ibu situation. Not a lot of people know about this. And honestly, I'm not trying to brush it off, but I could care less. I could care less. To give people the very, very short story of it, there's been rumblings that people are leaking behind the scenes dirt about AEW, and audio surfaced, I believe, on Discord about a conversation backstage about Tony Khan acting like a baby and this and that. You know, here's my honest take on this. What was said is stuff that a lot of people have been saying. I thought that audio was intentionally designed to make it seem like eavesdropping. Because the people in that conversation, somebody hit record and somebody hit upload. All right. Or they hit record and they played it for everybody to hear. That was intentionally done. And when you make something sound like eavesdropping, it makes you think, I'm hearing something I'm not supposed to. It's kind of like, what's his face? Sean Stasiak in the car. Do I have a little portable recorder? No, I don't. We'll use this old WCW sour gum that's still sealed, never opened from, I don't know, 1999. Let's pretend it's a recorder. And Sean Stasiak is driving around with a bunch of guys on the road, and they're talking about gossip and stuff like that. He's with his little recorder going, recording conversations. That's what this sounded like. Ooh, let's make it sound like you're not supposed to hear that conversation, so it goes viral. And that's my honest take on it. I could care less. Me, honestly, in 2025, I'm not as politically correct as I used to be. I definitely said things in the past that would not jive in 2025. But I will admit, and I'm going to tell you straight up, and a lot of you know this already, once Obama became president, I thought I had to be extra careful what came out of my mouth, because cancel culture is a legit serious thing. And I didn't want to have to deal with cancel culture. So I was a lot more careful what came out of my mouth. Now, not so much. I say what I mean what I say, which has always been that way, but I don't hold back like I used to. But I worry about my backyard. Kevin and I worry about our backyard. I could care less what wrestling purists say and do. I could care less what everybody in the news podcasting world does. If they dig a hole, good. If they don't dig a hole, good. You know, people make their bed, they got to sleep in it. I stay away from drama. Even online, I see some of my friends getting into fights with wrestlers, with other podcasters and stuff. And I'm not being a dick by staying out of it. But I'm like, nah, man, I'm too old for that shit now. I've been there, done it. I've had wars. We don't need to bring them up. I have wars with lots of Hall of Famers, people threatening to beat the fuck out of me, people threatening to cancel my shit out. I'm not interested in that stuff no more. Save the drama for your mama. So I could care less. But I felt that audio was designed to make it seem like you were hearing something you were not supposed to. And nothing I heard was new. So, all right. Jimmy, another 5 spot. Not sure about New York, DT, but it's been one of the coldest Januaries you can remember up north in any Nebraska, right? Nebraska. It's been freezing over here. Today, I think it hit 40 degrees out. It's been cold as fuck here. And what sucks is I live in a condo and I don't adjust my own heat. We don't have thermostats. So we're at the mercy of the board. I have a portable heater that I could put on, but, I just deal with it. Now it's starting to get a little bit better. But look at it like this. We're almost February. It's got to start getting warmer. And the next thing you know, you'll be telling me, DT, I hear the air conditioner blasting in the background. It's been cold over here. It's been very cold. Jimmy says New England. Okay, yeah, even worse, New England. Yeah, up north, it's worse than here. I thank God I don't live in, like, Albany. Oh, my God. I have friends that live upstate, and it's like 10 degrees over here, and they're like, yeah, it's 10 degrees here, but we also have 18 inches of snow we got to dig out as well. We've had a pretty easy winter so far. We had snow about a week ago, and 3 inches, maybe 4, but I kind of miss the snowstorms of 20, 24 inches. I've told many stories in the past, and I'm not going to get into a long one now. One of my fondest memories of snow in the wintertime has to do with ECW. In 1996, it was February. Me and my friends wanted to go see ECW on Queens Boulevard. And it was, I think they called the event the Big Apple Blizzard Blast. And what happened was we took cabs. We used to have a cab service in Middle Village, Queens called Lindy's. I think it was 386-2222. That might have been the phone number. And we took cabs to Queens Boulevard, and we were going to go see ECW, and then we were going to take cabs and go back home. Because we only live, but with cab, it's only about 10 minutes away from where I used to live in Middle Village. But walking is a whole different ballgame. So we go, and it's snowing, and we go see, ECW, and we get out, and there ain't nothing going on. We call up the cab company. Nah, we don't have any cabs on the road right now. We were waiting to see if buses, I think it was the Q38 bus, it might have been. And we stood at the bus stop, hoping that we could just take the bus, and the bus never came. We ended up walking home from Queens Boulevard, where they had the ECW event, and we walked all the way home. Took us about 2 hours in the snow, not really dressed for snow, but we had fucking ball, man. Came home, snowed in the next 2 days. That was fun. So, Jeff says I couldn't care less is the opposite of I couldn't care less, right? Oh, I could care less. Wait, I could care less. I could care. No, wait. I could care less. Oh, wait, yeah. I could care less means that I could give a shit a little bit less, but I could care less. I couldn't care less. Yeah, you're right. So about the Ibu situation, nothing against him or anybody else. That's their problem, not mine. Nobody runs to my aid when I need it, even though I don't ask for it. I couldn't care less. Good. That was a good one. You are right. Curated Vibrations. What's up, man? Since Austin Theory, Grayson Waller are now on Raw, maybe pull the trigger on the Austin Theory face turn in his hometown tomorrow. They can't. I think with stuff going on in NXT, I think they have to extend this more. Raw, this is only the 4th week on Netflix. I don't think WWE at this point, a week before the Royal Rumble, less than a week, I don't think the focal point should be overshadowed with an Austin Theory babyface turn. Maybe something happens at the Rumble. Maybe something happens in NXT that puts the final nail in the coffin, and then that leads to a babyface turn. I don't think you do that tomorrow. Tomorrow should be all about setting up the Royal Rumble. That's it. Saturday night's main event, we were talking about Jacob Fatu before. Saturday night's main event, obviously setting up Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. But Saturday night's main event may have been designed to set up Jacob Fatu having an insane Royal Rumble appearance. Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax, that's more because Rhea Ripley doesn't have a match at the Royal Rumble. Even Gunther and Jey Uso, Gunther doesn't have much of anything for the Royal Rumble. So you put him on Saturday night's main event the week before, so they get a high-profile match the week of the Rumble, and then that's it. They're on the back burner. Jey Uso will be in the Rumble match, but, that's really what it was designed for. But Austin Theory, he definitely should not be the focal point of anything right now. I say we give it a little bit. So don't forget, tomorrow Kevin and I will be doing predictions. And we have some predictions. We definitely have some interesting stuff to get into. We will be doing a predictions contest for our Patreon family and our channel members here on YouTube. I will let you know now, especially on Patreon, the thread will be up a day early because some of you, because you are been on with us for a long time, charges go through on the 1st. Sometimes people have to update their credit cards and they lose access for a day or two. So the last thing I would want is for anybody on the 1st to try to enter and then not be able to see the thread because you were blocked out of Patreon for a day. So we're going to put up the thread probably Thursday, and then you'll have until Friday, maybe right after SmackDown, 11 p.m., to put your entry in. Might even before SmackDown because it's, SmackDown I don't think is going to influence anything. It's really about 4 matches, possibly one more. But the focal point of the contest will be the Rumble. So, all right. Okay. Steve Joseph. What's up, Steve? How would me and my wife watch TV now? YouTube TV, believe it or not. I swear on God. I think tomorrow is my last day of YouTube TV. I canceled the service. And the reason why I canceled the service is because it's up to like $85 a month now. And I watch 2 or 3 channels. I find myself watching Roku more than anything else. There are so many different apps now where you could watch channels. I don't even care about a commercial here or there. I honestly could care less. I could watch, and not only that, when it comes to watching SmackDown, there's a couple of different ways. And if I use my VPN, then I could watch it on Netflix because I have a Netflix account. But I just canceled my YouTube TV. I've had it for about 5 years. Very, very satisfied, but it keeps going up every year. And they just had another, I think, $10 increase or whatever. And I only watch like 2 or 3 channels. And now with Raw on Netflix, I already have Netflix. AEW, I could watch 3 different ways. So really all I got to do is just figure out exactly I'm going to watch SmackDown. And I'll probably watch it on Netflix. But I will tell you this. For anybody out there that's thinking about getting YouTube TV, if you watch a lot of cable television, it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. I have no complaints about the service itself. It's just, for me, like we were talking on Patreon the other day, when I add up all the monthly things that we have going for the website, for bandwidth, for this, for that, for this, we spend about $300 to $400 a month just doing what we do with shows and even the website. And after a while, you're like, you know what? Why am I paying $80 for this? Why am I paying $50 for this? Why am I paying $20 for this? Got to start cutting back a little bit. But, even CW. Plus, you want to know something too? I've been watching a little bit more news lately because of everything that's going on in the country. But I'll say this. You go on YouTube and there are people out there that are streaming news live when they're not supposed to. But they change the words, they change the title, they'll put a big X block out the screen. If a commercial comes on, they'll take the audio out and they get away with it. So, there's always ways of watching something these days, but YouTube TV is not bad. Definitely don't have any issue with it. All right. Gary says Dynamite comes on every Friday on ITV4. One can't watch that. Oh, he can't watch that shit anymore. Saturday's night's main event was great. Loved the throwback. Jacob Fatu is a beast. Brian gets his payback. Brian gets his payback. Who's Brian? Brian gets his pay. Oh, maybe Braun gets his payback. Oh, maybe Braun and Jacob have a little issue in the Royal Rumble. That's possible. I wonder if, Braun should be in the Rumble still. I mean, he got bloodied up, but I hope they don't say he's home resting, recovering from so-and-so. If you want to add some additional heat to Braun and Jacob Fatu in the Royal Rumble, that's fine with me. I want to see Omos back. Omos should be back. There's a few names. I want to see, hopefully Brock Lesnar comes back. I know there's a lot of you out there that have no interest in seeing Brock Lesnar, but there's enough people right now that it would be fun to see Brock Lesnar go up against. Right off the bat, Jacob Fatu and Brock Lesnar would be pretty fucking fun. Like to see Brock Lesnar pick up ISO speed and throw him into row 860, all the way in the boondocks. Nothing personal against him, but I think Rhino may be in the Royal Rumble. Listen, on the women's side, remember Victoria just signed a Legends deal. We may see Victoria in the Royal Rumble. Melina may end up getting a spot in the Royal Rumble. Jordan Grace is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Could we see some TNA wrestlers in the Royal Rumble? I think JBL is in the Royal Rumble. Maybe Joe Hendry is in the Royal Rumble. And I know what some of you are saying. DT, should we be wasting all of the spots for those people? This is how I look at it, guys. Nothing personal against Shinsuke Nakamura. Nothing personal against Jimmy Uso. Nothing personal against, Otis. I have nothing against those guys. But those guys are on WWE television almost every week. So, and they've been on pay-per-views, so they don't need to be in a Royal Rumble match. To see some names that you don't normally see, and maybe for a brief moment have a little bit of fantasy booking, especially when you know that probably the final four in the match is going to be Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, and fill in the blank. I have to think about it. We'll talk about predictions tomorrow. Who's going to be in the final. Maybe Cena. It might end up being Cena, Drew, CM Punk, and Roman. Could be The Rock. The Rock might be in the Royal Rumble. Just think, if The Rock shows up in the Royal Rumble and he starts getting towards the end of it, and Cody Rhodes is still the champion. Because listen, Cody and Kevin Owens' match will go on before the men's Royal Rumble. Remember, Kevin Owens will likely screw Sami Zayn. Kevin Owens is expecting Sami Zayn's back during his match against Cody. Sami Zayn will not have Kevin Owens' back. So when it comes down to the Royal Rumble, I think logic would tell you that Kevin Owens destroys Sami Zayn's Royal Rumble opportunity, ruins it for him. You didn't scratch my back, I ain't scratching yours. You didn't help me, I'm not helping you. I think Rollins probably get eliminated earlier. Listen, tomorrow they're having Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn to continue the build to the Seth Rollins heel turn and the Seth Rollins alliance with Drew McIntyre. And then Cross will be involved with it tomorrow, and he'll throw the little jab here, try to instigate a little bit more, and that'll be one step closer. Seth Rollins will probably, and remember this, Seth Rollins will probably inadvertently hit Sami Zayn with a move tomorrow. What does Seth Rollins do that he does blind? And what I mean by that is, like, Sami Zayn does a Luva kick. So Sami's running to the corner, somebody gets out of dodge, and he hits the wrong person by mistake. What move does Seth Rollins do that he could go to hit someone and they move out of the way and he nails Sami Zayn instead? See, it can't be the pedigree because that's intentional. Can't be the curb stomp. The super kick. Maybe the super kick. Seth Rollins, he's got to go to hit Drew with something, and then Drew gets out of the way and he nails Sami Zayn instead. Yeah. One fall, there's been a lot of wrestlers that have not had matches in over a month. We will see. Cross will be taking on Sami Zayn in the very near future. I do not like The Miz being moved to SmackDown. I mentioned on the news update earlier today. Do not like that at all. The whole storyline about him getting away from the Wyatt 6, now he's on SmackDown. It's like, I did not like that at all. So, all right. What do you guys think about Damian Priest on SmackDown? That was someone that Kevin and I both said, there's no more Gunther. He's burned through a lot of people. There was nobody really for him still to burn through on Raw. So I think Damian Priest, that's good, but it's going to be interesting because some Judgment Day members will be going to SmackDown soon too. So do you have Damian Priest turn heel and challenge Cody? Does Bad Bunny enter the Royal Rumble? You haven't heard much about Bad Bunny recently. You guys want to see Bad Bunny in the Royal Rumble? I mean, Logan Paul obviously is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Logan Paul's supposed to be on Raw tomorrow. He probably will proclaim himself in the Royal Rumble. I don't expect John Cena on Raw tomorrow. Interesting though. Think about this, guys. Do you remember news outlets saying that John Cena was going to work at least, did they say 35 dates for WWE in 2025? It was 35 or 45. And I remember it because Kev and I were having a funny conversation, and Kev is like, this motherfucker is going to be all over my TV for the entire year. It's interesting that we're now 4 weeks into Netflix, 4 weeks in 2025. John Cena's only been on TV once. So I think 35. Yeah, it kind of, put it this way, if it's 35, we're now down to 48 weeks left. And that means he's got 34 appearances. So you take the Royal Rumble, that'll be 33. That means almost out of every 4 Raws, or every 4 weeks, I think that's a better way to put it. Every 4 weeks, John Cena will be on TV 3 of those 4 weeks. So I think maybe when you get like a month before Mania or 3 weeks before Mania, maybe that's when they ramp it up a little bit with Cena. And don't forget, he's in the Elimination Chamber. Does Cena win the Elimination Chamber? I don't know. I know who I'm going with to win the Royal Rumble. I know I said somebody a week ago. I don't want to say if it's still my choice, but I pretty much am set now. And I'm not sold yet about Bianca Belair winning the Royal Rumble, the challenge Rhea. Because I'm sure you all heard those rumors that, Fightful is put out now, and they do have some legs to it. I was putting up the news update earlier today, and I was putting the video version together for the channel members on YouTube. And I was going back to the Royal Rumbles from the last bunch of years, and I've totally forgot. Maybe you forgot as well. Remember the Royal Rumble during the Thunderdome era when Bianca and Rhea Ripley were both holding on to the rope, and then they were sitting on the apron and they looked at each other? So they were supposed to feud back then, but I think Rhea got injured and Bianca feuded with Carmella instead. But that's a very good possibility. But like I said earlier today, what makes it even more interesting is who's Jade Cargill facing at WrestleMania? If Bianca takes on Rhea, does Jade take on Charlotte? Does Jade take on Naomi? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Because a lot of people are saying they think Charlotte Flair is going to challenge Tiffany Stratton because Tiffy has the belt. If Pogo the Clown had the belt right now, people would be saying Charlotte Flair and Pogo the Clown may have a match at WrestleMania 41. Whoever's the champion, that's who they're going to say Charlotte is going to challenge. So, I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. All right, let's get into some more questions. Jeff is saying, where are the Wyatt Six right now? Probably in a hotel room. They're probably home. You know, SmackDown. Oh, actually, I'm kidding. That's been my phrase since 1997. Whenever somebody asks me on a late night, where's a particular wrestler, I usually say in bed. It's late. What do you think they're doing right now? They're out having coffee? No, the Wyatt Six, they were working house show. They've been working house shows. I don't understand Bo Dallas, though. I mean, I get it. You know, you want to gradually bring them back to TV, but you all forget, maybe you don't, how many months did we have QR codes? How many months did we have crossword puzzles and voicemail messages and links? It was like 3, 4, 5 months before they even came on TV. And now we are almost a year. And this motherfucker's had 2 matches. What does that tell you? Bo Dallas is healthy. Is it possible that Bo Dallas never wanted to return full time? Because remember, he had a career outside of wrestling. I don't know if it was real estate or whatever it was. Is it possible that Bo Dallas never wanted to return full time, but wanted to do part time to pay tribute to his brother? Because explain to me why Bo Dallas has only had 2 matches in a year. I don't get it. Why would you do this much creative and then he has 2 matches and his record is 1-1? You know, like that's, I don't know, man. And not only that, just quietly get moved to SmackDown. Now they're on SmackDown, and what have they done the last 2 weeks? What have they done? It just something doesn't make sense to me. We know WWE love Bray Wyatt. The roster loved Bray Wyatt. We all loved Bray Wyatt and missed him. Don't know him personally, but we loved the man. The more you hear about the man, the more you learn about the man outside of wrestling. You see all those videos of him interacting with fans, never doing the Hogan where TMZ's got to be there witnessing it. You see more of those videos that were coming out and you realize, wow, this guy was a really fucking nice guy. Why was he taken so soon? You know? So you look at all that and you say, why go to this point and build it for that long and push it for that long and get that in everybody's heads and then do almost nothing? They showed up and to pay tribute to Bray, we see simulated murder in the back. And still to this day, we don't understand. Kevin and I picked up on it early on. We said, what happened to you were mistreated? They lied to you. They this, they that, they this. Now it's like they're the bully police. Anybody who is not only a heel, but anybody who is a dick, they go after. If Dominic Mysterio ends up on SmackDown, they may go after Dominic. I don't know. I think Dominic is turning babyface sooner than people think. If Dominic is in the Royal Rumble, I have a feeling Dominic is going to get cheered unless they intentionally put him in situations where he gets booed. Roderick Howard. What are my thoughts on the Alexa Bliss contract situation? Do I buy that factored into the Wyatt Six being put on ice? What's the SmackDown? I said this on Friday's news report. I'll say it here. To me, a majority of the Alexa Bliss stuff is fake news. One of the things that I take pride with is trying to sift out bullshit. If you notice, a lot of bullshit never make our shows. And we've been doing this for decades. And for some reason, things never make our shows. And if we smell bullshit, we'll call it out. A lot of you may not remember this, but it was only 2 years ago, I believe, where people were saying that Sasha Banks was going to be in the Royal Rumble. And then it didn't happen. And then once they realized it wasn't happening, things fell apart. Sasha Banks was never going to be in the Royal Rumble. My point is this. In my opinion, the reports of Alexa Bliss coming back were based on her social media posts. She shows up on social media. Guys, you think I should bring back the pink? Guys, what do you think of my shirt? And they're all like Easter eggs for a wrestling return. Go look at her social media. And if you really want to spend a few extra minutes, go look at the dates that she posted that stuff and then do a Google News search for her. And it's weird. She dyes part of her hair pink. A week later, my sources tell me that Alexa Bliss is nearing a return. And then, how long is nearing? 2 months go by. 3 months go by. Her return is imminent. And then you look on her social media and she's wearing a Wyatt shirt. And then what happens? We get to Royal Rumble time. Oh, Alexa Bliss, Royal Rumble. It's happening. And then all of a sudden, things broke apart for contract reasons. What other reason would it be? Triple H called her a bitch? What did they say? You got to cut your hair? Like, what else would it have been? Contract? Why would, think about this, guys. Again, not trying to be a dick. This is why people have good jobs and then people will stay on YouTube every single day of the week. Or if they happen to be blessed with nice bazoombas and a nice ass, they'll talk about wrestling and show off their cleavage and get a lot of little gifts along the way. Why? Think about this for a minute. $1 billion company. Think about this for a minute. Why would WWE, for the last 2 months, based on the wrestling news sites, say creative is preparing for Alexa Bliss return? They're preparing. They're getting everything ready. They got story. But they didn't figure out the contract situation first. Don't you think? Imagine they're nearing a CM Punk return. Oh, but then contract fell apart. No, you figure out the fucking contract situation first. You get that squared out of the way. Now we could figure out, what are we going to do with you, Lexi? So just use a little common sense. Look at the dates. People online, they were 50-50, getting it right or getting it wrong. Either Alexa Bliss is coming back in time for the Rumble. She's not coming back in time for the Royal Rumble. When people use the words imminent, soon, very soon, about to, likely, this and that, they don't know. They don't know. And then the idea, contract fell apart. Yeah, okay. That's ass backwards. That is ass backwards. You do not plan creative for 2-3 months. Oh, I forgot. We got to talk about contract. These people realize they fucked up and now they're trying to get out of it. Go check out last week's history episode and Justin Barrasso's statement. Nothing personal against him, but check out his statement from a year ago when he got the Royal Rumble brutally wrong. And instead of saying, hey, look, I got it wrong, he actually wrote, I reported spoilers. Let that sink in. He said Gunther was going to win the Royal Rumble. Gunther was going to take on, I think, Seth Rollins for WrestleMania. It was going to be CM Punk versus Cody Rhodes and a whole bunch of other stuff. And Roman was going to take on Rock. And this was before Rock became on the board of directors, by the way. Before he went on the board of directors. Remember, hug after board of directors, pull, power grab. Before he had all of that, they were reporting this. So they got it brutally wrong. So he writes publicly, and it's still online, I reported spoilers. He just admitted that he thought he was spoiling the Royal Rumble in WrestleMania. Now, all of a sudden, the sources I always relied on gave me misinformation. Meltzer got it even worse. And Meltzer says, WWE is intentionally feeding me bullshit. So these people do this every year. Every year this goes on. Same thing with Alexa Bliss. I always say to everybody out there, nothing personal. And take note, guys, nobody ever challenges me on this stuff. No one ever challenges me on this stuff other than trolls. Why? Because they know they can't dispute it. Use a little common sense. Does WWE start preparing creative? And then Alexa's like, you didn't talk to my fucking lawyer yet. You didn't even do my contract. What's all this? No, you figure out the contract, sign a dotted line. Okay, we got you. You're going to be coming back here. All right, let's start planning your return. Let's start figuring out new shirts. Isn't it weird that somebody makes a return and there's a shirt on sale the same night? Just because they have everything ready in advance. So the Alexa Bliss thing, these were people trying to cover up the fact that they got it wrong. It happens. It happens. Mark is asking, do I have any expectations for the Royal Rumble this year? Yeah. Lots of surprises, lots of twists and turns, maybe more predictable winners than some of us expect. I think we will get a swerve or two happen during the match, and Kevin and I will be doing predictions tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. We might even get into like who has the most eliminations, who has the shortest run, who has the longest run. You know, I actually think I know who's going to have the longest run in the Royal Rumble. And it's no one has a chance of winning. And honestly, I will continue saying what I said before. I know it's not going to happen. He would be stupid to do this, but I personally think if John Cena is going to go the distance or get to near the end of the Royal Rumble, he has to come out number one. He has to come out number one because you can't set the tone that, all right, I'm going to be around for 2025 and I'm going to get the Sting run, that everything's going to be handed to me. I'm going to be coddled. You know, I'm going to have everything, you know, just beautiful the way I want it. No, I think John Cena is going to have to come out very, very early. Even if it's not number one, if he comes out within the first 10 and he does have a good showing, I think that earns a lot of respect from a lot of fans out there. John Cena already has everybody's respect, but if you want to put the idea of Cena having the most wins in the history of WWE, you know, world championships, if you're going to give him a world title in 2025, there's got to be moments where you got to be like, you know what? Okay, he didn't come in at number 30. You know, he worked his ass off, and all right, I can accept it. You know, okay, all right, you know, for the history books, okay. Vance says the Bills are leading the Chiefs 22-21. If the Bills go in, then I think the Eagles will be 8-point favorites or 7.5 going into the Super Bowl. We will see. I still have a feeling the Chiefs are going to win. It wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs kick a field goal with like 10 seconds left. So we'll see. Rams fan says Bills are the true New York team. They're not. They're upstate New York. They are New York, but they're not. Yeah, I will say this. I felt bad for the Bills back in the day because they made the Super Bowl. Didn't they make the Super Bowl like 3 or 4 times in a row and lost every single time? My favorite Bills player of all time is Scott Norwood. Scott Norwood. I remember where I was. I remember what I was doing when that kick didn't hit the goalpost and the fucking Giants won the Super Bowl. I still remember that. I still remember the Buffalo commentators going, oh, that was great. You know, I watched a retro baseball game today, just random for my homeboys tuning in New York. If anybody used to be a fan of the 86 Mets, I watched a baseball game today, just random. It was 1981, the Red Sox versus the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And the Red Sox pitcher was Bobby Ojeda, which became legendary for the 86 Mets, even though he played several years for the Mets. He actually pitched for the Red Sox that game, and he had a no-hitter going into the 9th inning. And with 1 out in the 9th inning, they pinch hit, I think, Andre Robertson with Rick Cerrone, and Rick Cerrone hit a double. And then Dave Winfield he pinch hit for somebody else, and he singled home Rick Cerrone, and Bobby Ojeda was removed, but he still won the game 2-1. Reggie got the final out, by the way. Jim Kelly, that's one guy that, man, talk about someone who just came up short a few too many times. Didn't he have health issues recently? I think he did. I have nothing against Jim Kelly. I felt bad for him to an extent, but no. When you face the Giants, Scott Norwood. All right, what time is it? We are at 9:10, so we got about 20 minutes still. 20 minutes. Let's talk a little bit more. Thurman Thomas was a good running back, man. What was he, number 34, Thurman Thomas? He was 30-something, 32 or 34, I think it was. He was a good running back for the Bills. They just needed, I think they needed a little bit more defense. I think the Bills need a little more. Yeah, Big Jesus 34. I do remember some of my football fandomhood back then. I haven't been a football fan in a very long time, but I do remember my football days. Kevin Milwaukee, do I think WWE has the wherewithal to build on their newly found term from the NCAA football called the transfer portal and use it as an excuse to avoid certain conflicts of interest going forward? Some people brought to my attention that the transfer window is something that is used, I think, in the United Kingdom. It is a term that is used internationally quite a bit. I'll be honest with you. I like the transfer window better than the draft. I like it better than the draft because for many, 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 many years, we have kind of left with the draft like, this sucks. I mean, the last draft that they had was awful. I remember when we were going through it, we were like, this didn't help anybody. And didn't we have, I think Raw had very few people move. The draft was fun when Ric Flair and Vince were doing it. But in recent years, even with the NFL on Fox, music, and you had the robot with Fox. Remember when Natalya didn't get drafted to SmackDown? Remember I said that was the robot's favorite move? We didn't get Natty. I don't like the draft. The transfer window, okay. You know what this shows, guys? Nothing personal against anybody that does this, but I used to get so cringed when somebody on Raw wrestles on SmackDown and people would say online, the fuck is so-and-so on SmackDown? He's a Raw wrestler. Why is she on Raw? She's a SmackDown wrestler. And I'm saying to myself, shut the fuck up. We're getting to see a match that we don't normally see. And I'm not talking about Nia Jax. I'm just saying in general. You're getting to see someone that you don't normally get to see on that brand. Just enjoy it. We know that everybody works for World Wrestling or TKO Group Holdings. We know. So, the idea that, you can move some people here and there and freshen things up, that's fine. So far, I don't see much bitching about the transfer window. So far, I guess my only complaint is The Miz. Because it does, listen, The Miz, is not just about the Wyatt storyline, but, it's just, to me, I didn't like the timing. I do want to see a trade. I would not be surprised that someone moves because of the transfer window and then a trade happens. When the transfer window is closed, we find out there's a trade. Adam Pearce trades so-and-so to get them back on Raw. I wouldn't mind something like that. Do that once in a blue moon after the transfer window closes. What I also want is I want Ava Raine to get involved with this. I want to see the transfer window where if somebody shows up on NXT, all right, welcome to NXT. And no, I don't want to hear Cedric Alexander. You know what I mean? Like, I want some names, someone that could use a little bit of a lift that is really stuck in the mud. I want to see some names where, okay, welcome to NXT. Even if you do a storyline, listen, not trying to bring up outdated stuff. Trust me, if you were an ECW fan at the time, this was great. One of my favorite feuds in ECW back in the day was Too Cold Scorpio versus Shane Douglas. Too Cold Scorpio was the TV champion in ECW at the time. And for Shane Douglas, it was always about the world championship. World championship, world championship, world championship. And what happened was Too Cold Scorpio and Shane Douglas had a confrontation in the ring. And Shane Douglas pretty much said to Too Cold Scorpio, listen, I don't have any problem with you. I don't want anything to do with you. Me, I'm about the world title. And Too Cold Scorpio got very pissed off and was offended by it because how dare you make me feel like my title is shit. And if I remember correctly, I think Shane Douglas beat Too Cold Scorpio for the championship. And I think Shane Douglas wanted the belt wrapped around his waist, and Too Cold Scorpio decked him with the belt. So you could do a storyline where somebody gets drafted or transfer window to NXT and the person is not happy. And they use the storyline like, this is demeaning to me. This is a downgrade. Listen, WWE does not look at it as downgrade. See Corey Graves for an example. They don't see it as a downgrade, but they know fans look at it that way. So if you have a wrestler from the main roster go to NXT and they go on TV and say, I don't want to be here. This is a downgrade. I don't need to be here. That's a great fucking storyline. Because now you piss off the entire NXT universe, from the wrestlers to the fans to everybody in that company. And that person becomes, nuclear heat amongst NXT. That's what I would do. Play into the storyline. Have people stick up for NXT that would not normally stick up together and put that person in their place. I would do that in a heartbeat. Somebody in the main roster needs to go to NXT via the transfer window and just, I don't want to be here. This is a demotion. This is a downgrade. I don't need to be with all of you. And just build it from there. We will see. I see Ramsford says the Chiefs are now winning, 29-22. I kind of felt it was, listen, the game's still not over. But I still think Chiefs, Eagles, and I think Eagles win it. That's my early prediction. The Eagles are just on fire right now. And I'd be happy for Philly. You want to know something? Seriously. Without naming any names, there's a lot of wrestlers that I became friendly with over the years that are from the Philadelphia area that are still rabid football fans. And I'd be happy for them. All right. Let's move on. Some more questions. Joseph Ramos, did I hear anything about Rick Martel not wanting to have anything to do with wrestling anymore and not ever wanting to be put in the WWE Hall of Fame? Yes, I have heard that. Rick Martel has life outside of wrestling. It's not Ronnie Garvin levels. If anybody knows about Ronnie Garvin and his, kind of lack of love for wrestling. But Rick Martel, I personally feel neglect, being ignored, helped Rick Martel get to this bitter feeling. Rick Martel has made appearances in the past. Rick Martel had a very storied wrestling career. I truthfully believe, and I'm not just saying this, I think Triple H eventually is going to get in touch with him and really make amends, not force the issue. We want you to be a legend. You got to make appearances. Sit ringside at Saturday Night's Main Event. No, I don't think he has to do any of that. But I think Triple H is going to say, listen, This is not the Vince McMahon WWE anymore. We embrace history. We want everybody to remember history, learn from history. We want, you don't owe anything to wrestling anymore, but we would love to honor you. And I honestly think that Rick Martel, if he feels that there's true, interest and appreciation for him, I think he does make an appearance. He may not do anything afterwards. Plus, I think getting a couple of dollars, would not be a bad thing. If WWE were to sign him to a Legends deal and he can make a couple of dollars through some figures or something like that, why not? I think Rick Martel, just like Don Morocco, I can't believe that Magnificent Morocco doesn't show up at all for WWE stuff. I've been saying that for decades, or at least a decade. I mean, he was my favorite Intercontinental champion growing up. Fucking Morocco was awesome. That guy was the shit back then. And it's not even because of the Snooker or Tito Santana feuds or anything like that. Morocco was fucking awesome. And I can't believe that they don't do more with this guy. But there are some people that I truthfully believe are hurt, that they have been forgotten about. That's why, when I saw Victoria sign the Legends deal, Victoria definitely burned bridges back in the day. Kevin and I have talked about that story many times about, when she retired and went to TNA. But, now it's water under the bridge. And when she signed that Legends deal, she was smiling from ear to ear. When Melina had that moment with Sasha Banks, she gets teary-eyed when she talks about it. A lot of wrestlers don't want to be forgotten. And I think with Rick Martel, I think it's a case of being forgotten. So, Ramsfen is asking, why is Warner Brothers Discovery not released the max viewership for AEW? Because AEW doesn't want to, Warner Brothers Discovery, I've said this for a couple of years now, and I think reminding everyone is a good time to do it. Warner Brothers Discovery does not play the AEW game when it comes to taunting, comparing to NXT. They don't put the wise ass, WWE on Fox played around a little bit. USA Network played around a little bit, not in, directly going after AEW, but, remember the Jinder Mahal, Tony Khan saga from a year ago. The thing is, Warner Brothers Discovery, they have lost a crazy amount of money. They have had some deals fail recently. They have lost the NBA. Warner Brothers Discovery, it has a lot more on their plate to worry about. And the last thing that they want to do is get into troll games with networks and wrestling and fans. If something really, really is good, they have every right to tout it and celebrate it. But AEW, for them, everything is about acceptance. I'm talking about Chad's son, Chad's kid. But when it comes to Warner Brothers Discovery, why release the max numbers? If it's 100,000 or if it's 80,000, all that's going to do is be used against them. Oh, look at NXT. Even combined with Wednesday on TBS and Max, it still loses to NXT. They know that it's not a winning formula. Nothing good comes out of it. When they say that it's one of the top sports shows on there, yeah, you could tout that. But they don't get into the habit of releasing a lot of numbers. Look at all the other shows they have on there. You don't see a lot of numbers being released there. They're not required to. So I don't blame Warner Brothers Discovery for not releasing it, because then you start playing that game. And even if the numbers are really good right now, I've used this phrase a lot lately. Even the sickos will eventually get sick of AEW. The sickos will eventually get sick of it. So even if the numbers are good now, doesn't mean the numbers are going to be good a year from now. And if the numbers really start to nosedive further, it's going to shoot them right in the ass. They don't want to put any negative perception out there. They don't want to put any unnecessary negativity on themselves. That's why Warner Brothers Discovery and Shad's kid handle things much differently. Yes, I agree with Austin. If everybody tuning in live right now could take a moment and hit a thumbs up, that might spark YouTube to recommend this episode to a bunch of others. You know, it's no secret, Kevin and I absolutely want to grow more content in 2025. And, you know, we're figuring out how we could do that. But, you know, if we start getting a little bit of momentum here on YouTube, then we'll do more live stuff. But, you know, if you could take a moment and do that, because even a nice little surge, so suddenly YouTube will be like, what the fuck is going on? How come all these people are suddenly liking this? You know, something must be going on. Maybe we should recommend it to the haters. Imagine haters out there. Shows up on their feed. Why am I getting this shit? So, and thank you for the 5 that actually listened. Out of 370 of you, 5. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because there's 121 likes. So some of you are right now, a bunch of you are like, I already hit the like button. I can't do it again. I get it. I appreciate it. I really do. The Thoroughbred Underdog. I love that name. You know, they should be kind of, you can mix and match that too. The Underdog Thoroughbred. What is crazy about Rick Martel is that he's been in the game and had figures made by WWE, so he may not completely out of that frame of mind. He has signed deals for merchandise, but he does, as far as I know, he doesn't have a Legends deal. I don't think he ever had a Legends deal. Rick Martel's been forgotten. And it's a shame. Listen, Rick Martel's career came to pretty much an abrupt halt when he was in WCW. I remember when he showed up in WCW. I think it was like 1997. Maybe 98, around that time. I might even be off by another year, but it was the latter part of the 90s. And he showed up. I mean, obviously he wasn't doing any, you know, like model stuff or anything like that, but he was still in great shape and he could still go a little bit. And then if I remember correctly, he got injured and we pretty much did not see much of him anymore. Like you'd see a little appearance here and there. You know, I think WWE even did a Where Are They Now with him several years ago. I could swear if I did a Google search right now, it probably would pop up. I'm pretty certain several years ago they did a Where Are They Now with Rick Martel. But, you know, it's make no mistake about it. There's a lot of people from that era that wrestling forgot about. You know, it is what it is. I absolutely think he should go in the Hall of Fame. I don't even think it's a question. You know, a lot of people complain when he was AWA world champion because at the time, you know, you look at Hogan, you look at Flair, and ultimately you look at Sting, and you see others at that time, Macho Man, you know, he's world champion, and then you got Rick Martel. You know, Stan Hansen was right around that time with AWA as well, and it looked like big downgrades, even when Kurt Hennig was in AWA. But AWA was not on the level of WCW or WWF or NWA and WWF at that time. So it was a little unfair. But I don't think that's Rick Martel's beef. I hope they put him in the Hall of Fame. I really do. You know, Rick Martel will never ever see this video, but I'm pretty certain that he knows there are still fans out there that would love to, you know, cheer him one more time. Maybe not in person, but, you know, somewhere, you know, we're smiling and happy that he got that one last recognition. So we'll see. Jeff is asking, what was my initial reaction to Kane unmasking in 2003? To me, he looked like Larry Fine from the Three Stooges. I'll never forget it. He lost the match, took the mask off, turned around, It looked like somebody, you know what it looked like? It looked like he was putting on the mask and Michael PSA said, wait a minute. And somebody was smoking a cigarette in the back and took the cigarette ashes and said, here, rub this all over your face. It looked like somebody rubbed cigarette butts all over his face and half his hair was gone. It looked like he looked like Larry from the Three Stooges. I hated it. We laughed. Believe it or not. I think I have the DTKC show from that time. Not sure. I think it was a Minority Report. I got to look because we started doing it on a regular basis in 2004. Pretty sure we had, and even if we didn't have the 2003 reveal, we definitely have it within a year of it. So we definitely talked about it. But that was not good, man. That was not good. I did not like it. We laughed. I remember going on the show that night or the hotline, whatever it was. And I'm like, what the fuck did I just see? Look like Larry from the Three. You know what it is? If you go to Wayback Machine, actually, you could do this tonight. Once we're almost done, go to Wayback Machine and type in wrestling-news.com. And when you see the calendar on the top, type in June 2003. And I was doing columns on my website at the time. We were doing hotline reports. We were posting news. I'm pretty certain that there's a column, an article, something up there with me talking about his reveal. That was not good, man. It was not good. Jeff says the hair was Bruce Pritchard's idea. I can't picture. I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to make him look like a deranged psycho killer from the Midwest. Like some hick that's like losing his hair and just looks all disheveled and everything. The problem is, remember the storyline, fire, fire, fire. You know, like everything about Kane, the Undertaker, you know, like you see that, it's like, that's what getting, almost killed in a fire looks like. He literally looked like he had a bunch of cigarette ashes and just rubbed it all over his face. It was just, and the best part about it that no one ever brings up, that motherfucker was sweating bullets that night. So in the back, I mean, I don't smoke. I haven't smoked in decades, but if I had cigarette butts in front of me right now and I rubbed it all over my face, I probably could make it look awesome. But that guy started sweating bullets under the mask. You see the Deli Man mask back there? I've worn that, for Thunderdome, which you all know, and I've worn that doing Deli Man. And I swear to you, this is not exaggeration. If I keep that thing on for more than 10 minutes, I breathe in. It smells like a dead horse. Honestly, if you take the smelliest, ugliest, most disgusting piece of ass out there and just not shower it for a month and let it stay outside in 90-degree heat all day long and then come inside and then put that scent inside the mask, that's what it smells like. It just, your breath just keeps, and this guy has got the mask on and he's sweating bullets. And meanwhile, all the fucking cigarette butt is all smearing. And then he pulls the mask off and probably half of the cigarette butt ash went with it. You pull the mask off and then there goes all the makeup. So it just was, you know what? I wonder if Bruce Pritchard ever revealed if there was a rehearsal with whatever they put on his face. I have a feeling there was no rehearsal with whatever they put on his face. They probably put face paint or something, but there was probably no rehearsal complete with makeup because I think they would have realized quickly, oh shit, that's not going to work. They probably were better off doing something else. But listen, as time went on, when he was bald and they had the fucking contacts, he looked awesome. When he did See No Evil, to me, that was awesome. That looked like a horror film. Too bad they didn't think about that early on. That would have been awesome, man. No, I don't think Lacey Evans smells like that. Done. We can leave her alone. All right, we're gonna start bringing this home. Let's start bringing this home. Roddy's asking, could I touch on Ronnie Garvin's bitterness towards wrestling? My advice, the best way I could summarize this, go look at his shoot interview. Look at the art video shoot interview. And there's a clip on YouTube all by itself. Just look up Ronnie Garvin talks about winning the NWA World Championship. Listen to his response. He never wanted the belt, didn't care about the world title, didn't care. And listen, this is not like, oh, look, I just loved wrestling. I didn't care about being champion. I just loved being out to do it. Ronnie Garvin comes off as a guy that, if it wasn't for the money, Ronnie Garvin wouldn't have been anywhere near wrestling. I'm sure, as years have gone by, he's probably looked at that video and he's probably said, man, I lost a bunch of fucking paydays at conventions over that. So I'm sure Ronnie Garvin's attitude has changed a little bit over the years, but he came off as a guy that I was like, fuck you, man. I mean, I remember when the fans were cheering the fuck out of him winning that title because it was so unexpected. And I remember the wrestling magazines talking about it. And it was pretty cool to see Ronnie Garvin win the title. He didn't have the belt that long, but he won the world championship. And then before you know it, he was a referee in the WWF. Randy Orton still does the Ronnie Garvin still. You don't see it as much anymore, but remember when, a lot of you may not even notice, when Randy Orton would put his boot on someone's hand and then he would stomp their shoulder and then stomp their back, stomp their leg, their thigh, and work around the whole body. Ronnie Garvin used to do that. I mean, I always loved that. I thought that was great, man. But, yeah, look that up and you'll see. You'll come off of it like, man, fuck you. Seriously. Even if Ronnie Garvin would have offered me $5 to go meet him at a convention, I go to the big event, big wrestling convention, you go to these tables, how much for an autograph? $10. Nah, it's too much. How much for an autograph? $20. How much for an autograph, Ronnie? I'll give you $5. I'll be like, nah, it's okay. Keep your $5. I'm pretty confident that he's mellowed out over the years. As they get older, I've always used this phrase. A lot of people want to say hello when it's time to say goodbye. Ric Flair doesn't get the memo all that much unless you really have something for him in return. But for a lot of wrestlers, they want to say hello to you when it's time to say goodbye. When they're at their top, they could give two shits about you. You could be walking, and listen, of course, wrestlers are entitled to their privacy. When they're with their families, you got to be respectful. There's been many times, I'm not just saying this as, saying it. There's been many times over the years that I've been at a restaurant or a party or something, and somebody famous is there. And, you look, and if they are busy talking to people, or if they're with their family and it looks like that they don't want to be bothered, you gotta have a vibe. You get a feel for it. And if the person, you seem like, I don't think this is the right time, then you don't. You can't just well, I don't know if I'll ever see this person ever again. This is my only shot. Well, too bad. If that person is with their family and they're in a family moment, you could see they don't want to be bothered, you leave them alone. That's it. But there are some people out there, even when it's not like that, they don't want to be bothered around you. But trust me, when their career is pretty much done, or they're over the hill, or nobody wants to book them anymore, then suddenly, oh, how you doing? Oh, thank you very much. And they're the nicest people around because they want to say hello when it's time to say goodbye. That's why on the indie circuit, a lot of wrestlers are so much more friendly and approachable because they know that this could be all they have left. Listen, I'll give you a good example. We just joked about it a couple of weeks ago. Greg the Hammer Valentine. Greg the Hammer Valentine, I met him a few times when I used to go to WWF shows in the 80s. And he never seemed like he wanted to be there. Like he worked his ass off in the ring, but he never came across that, like the fans that were into him. Oh my God, the Hammer. And he just seemed like disinterested. Then I worked a VPW show. I managed somebody that night, and he was there as a guest, and he threw the hammer on somebody, and he was in the back. I think I mentioned this with Kev a couple of weeks ago, laughing. He was very, very friendly. He was talking old school and reminiscing. The only thing was he didn't smile. Greg Valentine, for some reason, always comes off as unhappy, even when he's happy. That's why when I saw him smiling at Saturday night's main event, I was like, maybe that was part of his Legends deal. Like Sting, we'll give you extra $5,000 if you wear your face paint. Greg, we'll give you an extra 100 if you smile. But when he was down on the indies, and that's pretty much all he had left, he was much more approachable. Even at conventions. You see some names at conventions, and you're like, wow, I can't believe this person's going to be there. Because when they were at their game, like when you went anywhere near them, get lost. What are you, fucking stupid? No. And then now all of a sudden at conventions, they're your best friend. Thank you, Liam, for this support. He's a channel member for 19 months. 19 months. Very, very cool, man. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's finish up in like 5 minutes because I got to prepare for tomorrow. Plus, we got some personal stuff to attend to. Jeff is asking, what wrestling action figures do I have besides Evil Uno? Now, I have a few. Most of the ones I have, they're like a lot of bobbleheads, Funko Pops, a few. My wrestling figure collection, I got rid of a very long time ago. I pretty much keep what I have back there. I have a really, really nice custom Daphne figure that I never put out there that I do want to. The only reason why I haven't put it out there is the same reason. I don't have it here. I have it inside. Somebody, and I have to give him credit. Some of you may remember when Daphne first passed, somebody drew a beautiful picture of Daphne wearing the Wonder Woman outfit, and she was in the heavens. It's a very famous photo that surfaced on Twitter. This person pencil drew. And I was so touched by it. And he sent it to me. I still have it. I've never framed it and put it up because when I opened it up and I put it in the background, you really can't see it that well because it's colored pencil. It's beautiful. But if I put it in a backdrop, people be like, what is that? So this figure is a very, thin figure. It's not like a bobblehead where it's thick. So if I put it back there, you won't even be able to make out who it is. But I don't really have wrestling figures like I used to. Just like my magazines. I used to have an insane amount of wrestling magazines. I made the stupid mistake of giving it to Feinstein in our video. This is before Feinstein had the incident with the kid. This was, put it this way. If Feinstein said at that time, LOL, I'll pretend you said 18, that means the person would have been 11 at the time. Because I gave Feinstein my magazines back in 1994. Because he was doing the ECW videos at the time. And I used to get all my ECW videos from him. And he hooked me up a couple of times. So I gave him a box of like 500 wrestling magazines. And I said, they're just sitting in my house. I said, I could put them on, on some type of site. I don't even think eBay was around at the time. I was like, if, enjoy them, get rid of them. He hooked me up with tapes once in a while. I realized after I gave this motherfucker 500 wrestling magazines from the 70s all the way to the 90s. And I got like, oh, thank you. So. Thank you, Richard, for the kind words. I appreciate it. Trust me. I know we don't have, like the really catchy clickbait and the stuff that could draw in tens of thousands of here. But everybody that do tune into what I do and what Kevin and I do, trust me, we really appreciate it. And the fact that I've been doing this since 97. So we're now into year 28. 28 doing this shit. If you would have said to me in 2005, when we started getting rid of the Minority Report, going to DT, you'd still be doing this 20 years later. I would have said to you, I probably would have been 500 pounds. I wouldn't be married. I'd be sitting at home, probably doing nothing and doing wrestling stuff still because I got no life and I have nothing else to do. And here we are 20 years later. And it's pretty awesome, man. It's pretty awesome. When do I get my Lifetime Achievement Award? Oh, yeah. No, some of my magazines were the WWF programs that they would have. My most infamous one, there was one WWF program that Jimmy Snuka was on the shoulders of Andre the Giant. And it might have even been the first one that ever came out. Perfect Condition. I gave so many things away. But at the time, like, again, this was 1994. It was either 94 or 95, because that's when I really started collecting hardcore ECW videos. Started building my collection. But, yeah, the WWF programs at the time, those were good. Those were good, man. Cause and effect. Any chance we get a new title coming out of this ladder match? Do I think people will think twice when signing contracts between WWE and AEW based on what Tony Khan is doing? Listen, first of all, I don't think a new belt will come out of it. I don't think a new belt should come out of it. Plus, Cody is going to have this championship almost a year. I don't know how much longer Cody holds on to that belt. I don't know if look, WrestleMania, I still think he holds the title. I mean, I think Randy Orton is making his return. I think Randy Orton is going to hit Cody with an RKO. Maybe not the day he returns, but I think that's on the horizon. I wouldn't be surprised we get Cody versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I don't know if a new belt is necessary, especially when you think of the other belts over there. They're all designed a certain way. It could happen. I mean, if it looks good, I'm fine with it, but I don't think you bring back the winged belt. Even though it's nice to see it, this many people really truly care. It's outdated. It's a part of history. Leave it a part of history. As far as contracts, listen, I'll be the first to criticize Tony Khan, but I say this, whether it's Ray Phoenix or Ricky Starks or Miro or Malachi Black, Brit Baker, Wardlow, anybody you want to put on that list, I say the same thing. Tony Khan offers you a contract. You read the contract. It's not a WWE novel that's this thick. It is a very, very small contract. If you do not understand some of the wording, you contact your agent or your lawyer and you say, is there anything in this that I should be concerned about? If you sign the contract, and in the contract it says that if you are injured, then we can add that injury time to your contract. In my honest opinion, Tony Khan is doing nothing wrong by paying these people and having them stay home. It happened in WCW. People, the funny thing is, back then, people were like, yeah, man, I'm staying home, collect the check. When WCW went out of business in 2001, yeah, most of the big names just sat out, collected their contract. The fuck, I'm getting $300,000. Everybody knows the Bam Bam Bigelow story. People are like, fuck it. I'll sit out, don't go to WWF, and I'll keep making coin. Now these days, I don't blame fans for being upset, but Ray Phoenix with that straitjacket picture he posted, I don't have no sympathy for Ray Phoenix. He signed the contract. You know what's funny? This is true. This week coming up in history, one of the clips I'm playing is the Young Bucks showing up in Atlanta at a house show that Joey Janela was commentating, and they offered a contract to the Lucha Bros to sign with AEW. This week in history, they signed with AEW. He knew at that time that if he was injured, they could add time. Every wrestler knows that they could be off TV, sitting in catering or sitting at home and getting paid. It's part of the wrestling business. And all these wrestlers that are bitter that they are not being used and Tony Khan won't let them free, you sign the fucking contract. You don't want that, then you say, no clause, no injury clause, no. I must be on TV 82% of the year. No, I cannot be paid to stay at home. No, you sign the fucking contract. Wrestling fans, we have every right to be upset. I want to see Ray Phoenix in WWE. I want to see Ricky Starks in WWE. I want to see this person. They signed a contract. Too bad. Wrestlers that continue signing with AEW, from this point forward, anybody that signs in the future a new deal, and then one day comes that they're sitting at home doing nothing, nobody should complain one bit, because they learn nothing from Ray Phoenix. They learn nothing from Ricky Starks. They learn nothing from Brit Baker. They learn nothing from Wardlow. They learn nothing from Miro. They learn nothing from Malachi Black. They learn nothing from anybody. These people signed the contract. It's not a big I've seen the contracts. I've seen an example of it. They're not 2 pages long, but they're not hard. You read it, it says right there. You sign it. That's it. You agreed. It's like an NDA. Like Janelle Grant's lawyer, Ann Callis. Vince, do the right thing. Release them from the NDAs. Everybody in the business world is like, what are you, fucking stupid? It's a contract. I had a relationship with this person. I don't want the world to know about it. I don't want my wife to know about it. One day she's going to divorce me and I'm going to have to give her $5 billion. So here's this. I give you $3 million. You shut up. And they sign it. It's not under duress. It's not like Vince is like, sign it. You give Christy Hemme $7.5 million. He gave her $1.5 million over 5 years. Vince is a billionaire. Why couldn't he just give her a check? 7.5 bill, one shot. He gave her $1.5 million over 5 years to dangle it over her head for the next 5 years. You better not say a damn thing. That's called, milking someone. If I want a contract, okay, it's like a credit card company. You owe them $10,000, all right, and you don't use them anymore. And you got $10,000 to just write a check and pay it off. But you're like, look, I'll make a payment plan. I'll give you $100 a month. Why do you do that? Just pay them off and be done with it. I'd rather, I'll let them wait for their money. That's the deal with Vince. He did it with Janelle Grant. Why didn't he just say, here's $3 million, get the fuck out of my life? Why did he do $1 million for three years? She's gonna make her wait. She's gonna have to wait. That's what these people do. But they sign the deals. Why would Vince say, I'm doing the right thing? You know what the business world would say? What are you, stupid? Why are you letting people out of that? You really think you're getting cootie points? Everybody still thinks you're an asshole. So, all right. Wait, so the Chiefs won by a field goal? Do we end the show with that? The Chiefs won the football game by a field goal? No shit. No shit. Tell me. Wow. Hey, No. I was going to joke and do the Elon Musk, but no. You will not get me on camera doing that. So I'll do this. 32-29. Wow. The best prediction I've ever made, and I'll leave you with this, and then Theme Parks with Johnny, will wrap it up with him. The best prediction I ever made, I have it on an episode. I could probably do a simple Google search and pull it up. You could do the same thing. If you remember, the Dodgers were in the play. I think they were in the World Series, not this time around against the Yankees, but not too long ago. I think they were in the World Series. They weren't in the World Series. They were in the NLCS. I'm pretty sure they were World Series. And Clayton Kershaw was pitching. And I made a prediction on one of the shows that he was going to give up a home run to someone. And I came up with a scenario. And the game happened, and the fucking exact scenario happened. And at the time, people were like, how did you fucking predict that? I can't explain it. I said before the Chiefs were going to win by a field goal towards the end of right at the end of the game, and sure enough, it happens. So now we got to see if they're 7.5. Wait, I said the Eagles would be 7.5 point favorites against the Bills. Against the Chiefs, I would say the Eagles might be 4. I'll say the Eagles by 4 points. And I'm sure there's probably already Vegas odds already out there. I just think the Eagles are on too good a momentum right now. So, oh no, this Dodgers game was like in the last 5 or 6 years. I got to look it up, but I wrap it up with Theme Parks and Things with Johnny. He's been a channel member here, guys. Not 1, not 2, but 3 years. So, Johnny, I thank you for that, Johnny. He says one thing he'd like to see, even though it won't happen, is Brock in the Rumble and him and Jacob Fatu face off. That would be epic. I actually said that towards the beginning of tonight's episode. I think if Brock enters the Royal Rumble, there's a few people that I think it would be fun seeing him get face-to-face with. And Jacob Fatu is right up there. I could see, but now the thing is, would you want to see Jacob Fatu versus Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 41? I'm not saying it's going to happen. Would that be something you would want to see? I know I would. The Beast versus the Werewolf? Ooh, I mean, just think about it. You got a bunch of animals fighting over there. Hey, if you think about their personal lives, they probably could go out for drinks and talk about all their promiscuity. You know, probably Jacob Fatu would have some funny say, Brock, you think that's fucked up? And Brock would be like, yeah, but you know, I almost got Janelle. I'm not joking about that. It's not funny. We just don't know how much of what happened with Janelle Grant was willingly or manipulated, how much of it was criminal. Big difference there. I've seen too many Lifetime movies and BET movies and Medeja movies where you got some woman is like looking to hang out with like a 70-year-old guy and the guy ends up being a manipulative asshole, but he's dangling millions of dollars in front of her and she's like, girl, you know, Anna Nicole Smith. You know, there's enough Anna Nicole Smiths out there. We don't know if Janelle Grant was an Anna Nicole Smith or if she was somebody brainwashed and drugged. You know, you would think that the pharmacist or the doctor or the rat, Johnny Ace, or anybody would have turned state's evidence against Vince McMahon. You mean to tell me nobody out there is willing to just, for the right, it's the right thing to do is to reveal, yes, Vince paid me to do this. Vince told me to do that. Vince this. Nobody wants to step up and say, yeah, I was involved. Get immunity? You mean to tell me like nobody in the criminal courts would offer immunity to someone? Like, okay, you spill the beans, we'll give you immunity, but you got nothing. That's why we kid a little bit here and there. And you can't say that Vince paid off because New York is democratic. If the New York courts were going to try to go after anybody, it's absolutely would be Vince McMahon. And it's not happening. All right, guys, I'm going to jet out of here. We ended up doing 2 hours instead of 90 minutes, which is fine, Time flies when you're having fun. So don't forget, Kevin and I will be live tomorrow night. Next installment of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. I do want to let you all know, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Colonel De Beers passed away today at 80 years old. And it's interesting because you might remember Kevin and I about maybe 3 weeks ago. You might remember we were talking about racist gimmicks and we brought up Skinhead Ivan from Queens. We also talked about Colonel De Beers. And it might have even been 2 weeks ago. Kevin and I had a pretty detailed conversation about Colonel De Beers, and now he passed away today at 80 years old. Man, that guy, if you never heard about Colonel De Beers, he's lucky he didn't get shot or stabbed or maybe murdered or attempted murder in his career. Because his character wasn't in the 50s or the 60s. His character doing this shit was in the 80s. And he was doing stuff in AWA where there'd be a black referee in the ring, and he would go in the ring and cut a promo and say, I don't want a black referee refereeing my matches. He supported the South Africa. That was a crazy, crazy character. That guy, man, I tell you, you want to talk about a character that absolutely would not be allowed in 2025? That is him, man. Shit. Kevin and I will definitely be talking about Colonel De Beers, 80 years old. Rest in peace. And I say rest in peace is because, from what I understand, he didn't have that kind of hatred outside. And I know what some of you are going to say. Why would you even be willing to do a character like that? I don't know. I can't explain it. Maybe because, what happened with apartheid back then and everything that happened with South Africa, and remember everything with Nelson Mandela. So this was a hot topic at that time. And they came up with this. It's wild to look back at that. It's some of this stuff, man. It's freaking wild, but all right. I'm going to jet. I will see you all tomorrow night with Kev. We will be live 15 minutes after Raw goes off the air. Raw may end up being a little bit longer with it being the go-home show to the Royal Rumble, the Raw go-home show. But, we figure on average 2.5 hours is pretty much the sweet spot, which, we already talked about before, but give or take a little bit. As soon as Raw goes off the air, just look at the clock, add 15 minutes to it. Kevin and I are live. So everyone have a good rest of your evening. Keep supporting everything that we do. If you did not get a chance to tune into Monday's show with Kev, definitely one to remember. The news update I did earlier. And don't forget, 1 week from today, Kevin and I will be here on YouTube for a special edition of the Don, Tony, and Kevin Castle Show. 8 p.m. is the start time. We will recap and review the Royal Rumble. We will look back at the last 12 months of he and I doing shows full time. And whatever questions, comments that you have. So the only way to be part of the convo is to show up. So thank you. Be well, everybody. I'll catch you on the next one.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts.
My image here. What happened to my image? Damn it.
Me, those goody-good people who work shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the hosts. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's alright, he's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action.
I fixed the image temporarily.
Not to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.